reporting or metrics in terms of reach and type of reach and who's your constant?
All the reach is on the replay, man. We're live. We're live.
Shivlets.
Shivlets.
1 2 1 2
1 2 1 2 1 2 live on the podcast. You're getting this notification early because we said, you know what? We're going to give you an extra couple minutes today. I'm with my man Bryan Moll. For anyone who's joining us, which is nobody yet because we're still loading up on LinkedIn. But if anybody is with us, we're about 5 drinks in already. No, we're getting there. So if anybody's joining us, which they will, they'll join the party there. We're going to let that load up for another minute. Yeah, exactly. This is quarantine mentality. Quarantina, quarantioni.
That's a drink somewhere.
A quarantine. Oh, and I need to talk to you about that other thing, which we'll
I was gonna say.
So my buddies, without getting into too much details, my buddies started a rum brand. This is pretty cool. They started a rum brand, and like rum is a tough category, right? Like rum is polarizing. It's either you love it or you hate it, right? It's one of those like, and it's a dark rum. It's a Caribbean rum. Yeah. They procured it. It's a blend. Bunch of Caribbean stuff going on in there, and they're looking to get their break. And the product just came to market literally the day of when the coronavirus really like smack dab New York City. Sure. And they're tough now. So we'll continue that conversation offline. We got a couple people joining us.
Hello.
We are live on Facebook. We are live on LinkedIn. We are live on YouTube, and we are live on Twitch. So I really do forget what day it is. So I make it a point to say today's date, and it is the 23rd day of April in the year 2020. I am with my man Bryan Moll, and we are all here on the podcast live. It is a Thirsty Thursday happy hour edition. And I say cheers to you, my fine man. And yes, yes.
All right.
By my high definition camera there. This is a nice what the hell did I tell you I was drinking? I don't know whatever the hell it is. It's some kind of 12-year-old scotch. I don't know. It's very drinkable.
It works.
It's a little peaty for my taste, but I'm good with it. Like I can't go too peaty on the scotches. That's not my thing.
Me neither. Yeah, the more smoke, the more. It's almost like oak in Chardonnay. We call it oak juice. My wife's a sommelier, as you know, and Adam is a early stage investor and contributor to Vin Social.
Yes,
and we basically are very much about it should be valuable, but it should be very, very clean, because naturally, especially in these times, you want to drink stuff that actually the Psalms drink, because it's more high quality and you recover from the hangovers that much more quickly, because the more shit that they put in your shit, the more you feel like shit the next day. So
that is true. So let's give everybody a little introduction here. So Bryan and I have known each other for a number of years. I'm trying to think. I always forget kind of the timeline here. Did I meet you before I was in recruiting?
Yes, you did.
And where was that?
So I spotted you because of your relevancy to where I was recruiting from, which was Gilt Group. So
that's when we first talked.
Yep, Amex in terms of Vente Privée.
We might have been taught. We might know each other for almost 10 years now. It's been a long time.
It's been amazing 10 years. Yeah. My wife and I's 10-year anniversary is in June. So I think you and I is in May.
Oh, that's cute. I will. What is it? Do I have to send you like a, is it like silver? Do I have to send you like a box of tin foil? Is it tin, or what element are we in right now?
We all know what 10-year means, man.
Oh no, that's yeah. And wifey and I just celebrated our 10-year wedding anniversary. Which is exciting, and it kind of sucks too, because we were planning a big Euro trip this summer.
I think we were too. I mean, literally, like I bought tickets for Sarah's parents. They're Norwegian originally, so we were going to go to the fjords. Fjords. And it's a TBD. Obviously, hopefully there's a cure. But yeah, if we take them to the fjords and they get COVID, then it's meant to be, I think.
Well, they're doing a lot of that herd immunization in those parts of the world over there. So a couple things first, like I kind of thought travel wise, because I've been poking around on the airlines, and you could kind of get some really good deals right now if you do a refundable. I was kind of looking in August. I was like, I could get round trip to Madrid direct for like $800 on Delta. I'm like, do I get it? Do I kind of play my cards there? So I'm kind of messing around with that. But I don't think anybody watching is really interested in that. And I don't think that's the crap that I hear about.
Why they tuned in? Yes. No,
that's
but
why they tuned in.
I can tell you right now, it was very much, you were in a progressive state in a very non-progressive organization. If you think about financial services with Bont Privé, as well as some of the things that you were doing from an e-com marketing, product marketing, that was actually the beginning of whenever I started to really spot marketers being the best recruiters. So it's just an absolute pleasure to being on your show.
Yeah, man.
Proof and point. You are a minority and a majority stake right now, and that's
thank you.
Ever more valuable. So thank you.
Thank you. And it's so crazy too to think back, like even, I mean, back then I had no idea that I would ever end up being in recruiting when I worked in marketing. But the fact that I have that marketing background in recruiting is the reason why I have this show on right now. Like, very few recruiters are doing like anything even remotely like this right now. And we talk about standing out. We're going to get to that in a little bit. But the first thing I want to do is I want to welcome everybody who's joining us right now. I think we got a handful, which is great. And everyone who's going to watch us on the replay, which is a lot more usually, because who the hell is on LinkedIn right now kind of hanging out with us, or on Facebook? Maybe a lot of people are. So Bryan, why don't you do us all a quick favor and kind of bring us up to speed? Quick little bio. Tell us a little bit more about yourself and your journey, because it's absolutely awesome and fascinating. Little elevator pitch action, my man.
That's right. Well, they say that, you are a product of your environment. And so the environment that I became a product of has been nothing but content and marketing and brand performance, brand positioning, data, making brand provide an ROI. So just sitting there for 10, probably 15 years in New York City, San Francisco, Seattle, Montreal, as well as now Denver, where I'm currently at right now, is interviewing all different shapes and sizes and just really understanding kind of what makes a brand perform. And so my background growing up in that, eventually I started thinking about, just like you, going out and representing brands that I really believe in, that I think have tremendous potential, both in people and products and services. So that's what spawned BKR Strategy Group, as well as Brand Ambassadors, which is BKR Strategy Group is very much like a holding company. We've been developing different areas of expertise for agencies of record, and what that means is we basically call it marcruiting. So marketing intelligence to make recruiting more productive, and it's very near term, very performance, very measured. We partner with private equity and venture capital backed portfolio groups, which is amazing because they have an investment thesis. They want to really establish a brand overnight, or very soon, to acquire more business, to hire more people, and really take over real estate. And so we've been their more or less their private label operator. And so my model has worked with Adam, as well as a number of others, to basically plug them into where they perform early on, because we're setting them up for success, which is exactly what we tell our clients, is really get someone that their dynamic is going to basically really be an impact to your organization. And so that's more or less what we do. But to those that don't understand what I said, we use marketing intelligence to basically make the recruiting experience more personalized for in-demand talent.
Yes. And it's what's fascinating about this is there's so many recruiters out there that unfortunately have lost their jobs. So we're talking about agency recruiters, we're talking about in-house recruiters, and you guys are sitting here and hopefully you're watching this and you're being like, damn, how the hell is Adam doing what the hell he's doing and why he's doing it? And the reason that I'm doing that is to stand out. It's the marketing behind the recruitment. It's my brand.
Yep.
I know, and my clients could attest to it, that I know how to recruit. That I already checked the box in that. But what else could I do? What other value could I do? What else could I bring to the table? And that's the idea of marcruitment that Bryan and I have been talking about for years. Ancillary services. What else could you bring to the table? But more importantly, right now, if you're a recruiter that's out of work, how do you create a brand for yourself? There's never been a better time right now to invest in yourself. You have the time, create the brand.
Yep.
What's your brand all about? You have a point of view. You have a point of view on like everything in recruitment, and now's your time to shine, right, dude?
Yep. No, it's very much. I mean, what I see more than not is a bit of an identity crisis across the board, and a lot of people want to. Especially when we're speaking about recruiters, it's your intelligence is extremely valuable. If you could basically make an infographic based off of your exposure and your experience, I think you probably have more business, because you show an insight, an actionable insight, versus I recruit or I staff for is I support and scale those. It's a different way of thinking. And the more you provide value in terms of to both parties, the clients as well as candidates, in terms of understanding, showing them that you understand who they are and what their issues actually are, is, people want to be paid to grow their value. They want to be paid to grow their experience versus, right now, what I think with social media and marketing is everyone's wildly exposed. So they are acting as if. And so I always joke about how recruiters, when we explain what we do at dinners with family.
At Thanksgiving dinner?
Yeah, I'm like, I get lied to for a living. People lie to themselves, they put it on paper. Clients lie to themselves, they put it on paper, and I'm there for the reality.
But I feel like I'm like the guy in the band like when like the guy takes it off the mic stand and he's like, I'm not gonna go there. I like to I'm finding my kind of place here with the microphone here, and I think anyone that watches it is seeing it. It's an incredible time to stand out. It's an incredible time to create content. I mean, it's so easy. The technology is making it so easy for you to stand out. And something that you and I talk about all the time is having a point of view.
Yeah.
And recruiting, there's so many point of views that you could have, different angles. If you're an expert in certain areas, whether it be IT, tech, industrial, manufacturing, AI, construction, whatever the hell your industry is, there's so many opportunities for you to shine and stand out. And there's not many in the recruitment business that do that. It's really not. And so let's do a little role play here, right? Like there's a lot of recruiters that are out of work, and let's just say you're a line recruiter, you're at a mid-sized company, maybe they have like 10, 12 recruiters and they had to let like 8 of them go, and now you're unemployed. You've never been on your own, and you've kind of had this idea of like, can I go out and do this on my own? Can I recruit? What are some of those questions, mindset? Like what should you be kind of asking yourself to see if A, you could even do it on your own first, and then B, what are those first steps?
Yeah, I think probably what you need to do is it's addition through subtraction. What do you not need? Like back before LinkedIn, it was a cup of coffee and a phone book. So why am I paying 50% of my commissions to the house and then another 40% to the government? And then you start basically looking at, do I really need certain things? So just the setup alone is like, what do I need? And what do I not need? Right. I think the second thing is being very specific versus broad. Right. Being a minority, again, in a majority marketplace is a beautiful thing. I think the best examples, if you need examples of, is insurance. It's the specialty that you provide that basically gives you a lens in terms of what type of person makes sense for the product that you have to offer.
Exactly.
I think right now our product that we have to offer is intelligence versus conversation. Right. So how can we make people smarter and feel good about spending a little bit of time? So instead of 30-minute screens, now I'm doing 15-minute conversations with people just to basically provide them some intelligence one-on-one. And that word of mouth has a domino effect. And so all of a sudden I'm able, even though I'm a little bit hoarse, I'm actually, it feeds the soul. I'm not feeding my bank account. So.
And I think it's such an interesting time too, when there's so many, like I think recruiting has kind of a natural entrepreneurial spirit to it as well, right? Like, because even if you're working for somebody else, you treat it as your own business. You're managing your clients. You're managing by meaning like your internal hiring managers are like your clients, your candidates also as well, and you're managing it yourself. So you think about, how do I take this and I take it into my own piece of business? Right. How do I leverage all those relationships? And now is a great time for that. And I really urge everybody to dig down deep, like really think about like, hey, you know what, can I do this or not? And test it out, reach out to some old contacts, say, hey, listen, I'm back in the market now. I know you're not hiring, but what else could I add from a value perspective? And the concept here is changing the dynamic from being viewed as a vendor to being viewed as a partner. And the true difference of being a partner is adding value. Understanding, we're taking the recruitment off to the side. Let's park recruiting as a function here. Could I consult on your ATS platform, the good, the bad, the ugly? How could you improve it? How could you optimize it? Your hiring process, the good, the bad, the ugly, your recruitment branding, your employer branding, all these things that you see from an outside perspective because you've been there as a client, as a vendor to them. Where else could you add value to them for free? Where when the floodgates open, they're going to say, hey, Bryan, thank you for adding all that value. We'd like to talk to you first.
Yep. It's if you provide a good question, you're remembered for getting people to think, right? So when you kind of have that aha moment, like I'm always asking really great questions that I'm hearing other people ask in the interview process, right? And part of it too is just really being ruthless about your time, spending on those you want to invest in. The ROI for us as recruiters is really selfishly picking conversations and projects and things that basically, you're really paying yourself to basically learn, because we all know in recruiting it's not a matter of if, it's when. And so what I always say is, build up kind of the portfolio of products and services. And so right now there's nothing really to provide any service to anyone except for our product, which is intelligence. Making people smarter about it. I think you also have to really understand that a lot of what we should be doing right now is listening more than talking, especially depending on the level, right? Because most people really need someone to hear them out in terms of where their anxieties are, and you actually have to be someone that actually goes, well, why do you feel that way? So it's very therapeutic. Why do you feel therapeutic? Oh, well, I just started this new job and I feel like I'm going to lose it. Why do you feel that way? So I think it's just reading your audience, which is so important, because whenever the market's hot, you don't have time as much to read it. So you don't really understand it because you naturally are working on who's going to pay you. But I think this is forcing everyone to slow down and treat their relationships that they depend on way more with more value. So it's consistency. To your point about partnership, how can you add value to a client that's being hit up by everyone for the same thing? We can find you people. Well, we're not hiring.
Yeah, we're not hiring. What else are you gonna do for me? How are you gonna stay top of mind? And I think let's go a little dark side here. I think it's going to also, I think it's going to weed out a lot of bad recruiters. I think it's going to weed out a lot of people, a lot of competition that were never really in it. And I think it's going to make the ones that are good rise to the top. The cream is going to rise to the top right now. And it comes down to your brand. It comes down to your reputation. It comes down to how you're acting right now during this current time. And that's the same thing for brands too. So Bryan, you're a student of the game. You're a student, all that kind of good stuff as well. Some observations, some kind of thoughts around, like, have you seen companies really shining right now from a branding perspective, from an employee branding perspective? And I'm not even just talking about like talent and acquisition, but what's standing out to you right now? What companies are kind of shining?
I think the ones that are shining, in my opinion, are, again, it's taking that minority position. So everyone that's offering participatory content regarding COVID, I tend to see as you participate, that's fine.
Like you have to check the box on that. Like you have to make a COVID commercial.
Well, yeah, I think what's interesting is you can kind of spot. I mean, if we're thinking from a marketing lens, because naturally what recruiters tend to gravitate towards is brands that they can sell themselves when we're in sales, right? So, but we want to do good by those prospects that we've been building up. So the brands that I think are doing well are the ones that basically are taking the near-term hits in terms of showing that they are vulnerable, but that they're resilient and that they're strong and that they're asking questions. Here's the questions, here's the information that we have, versus here's our take on it, and here's how you can still use us during this period. Because I mean, in many ways, it's a lot like business development right now. I'm listening to conversations about, anecdotally, bringing in painters when the house is on fire, right? Like, no way, because these painters are really valuable. Why would I burn them at the stake there? Certain brands that are they kind of speak to who's their masters in some sense. Like, I'll give you an example: Airbnb.
They're getting destroyed right now, like from a ledger perspective.
Yeah, and I feel for the founder and the original crew that basically, with success, you're allowed to do what you want, right? Same with WeWork, right? With success, you're allowed to do what you want. And it makes sense to your core group that you basically are doing this for. It's your why, your original why. But now you're serving a master in terms of profitability, right? And or things that basically are not, it's a principle. So I've experienced to where they are doing it the wrong way in many respects, because they're signaling what is happening right now, which a lot of people are being exposed to, which is, it's the chicken or the egg, right? These marketplace businesses. And they've sided with the chickens because you can always produce more eggs, which means the renters and the people that have been subscribing.
Right, the supply was there.
Yeah, and I myself have lost out because they've changed their policy 4 times, right, since the COVID piece. So there's no refunds because they deferred it to the owners of the homes, which makes sense, to decide whether they want to give a refund back. And so it goes back to like Mark Cuban. It's what you do during this period that makes or breaks you. And, there's a short term, especially ones that are leveraged, and I'm picking on Airbnb because the fact is it's an old brochure. And I think that's what, as recruiters, our job is to really broker and see who's operating from an old brochure, but or advertising from an old brochure, but actually operating. It's kind of like the hotels, like, oh, here's this beautiful picture, and then when you show up,
yeah,
so it's the fact that all brands are now online, right? Recruiting brands, employer brands. That means the efficiency to a bad experience that gets amplified, and it's not like, oh well, it is what it is. Just a direct, I think, transparency in terms of a direct thing. Like, we have to do this. Nothing like that comes from these big brands because they're like, we don't really care, because and that's what's frustrating to a lot of people is brands are not living up to their promise because they're outdated.
Yeah.
And so as recruiters, you have to basically be the ones that decipher like who's going to be around in 6 months. Forget a year.
It's a tough one. I mean, it's all uncharted, right? Like, I mean, you've been around the block too. I mean, you've been working through. You working on 9/11? Were you in the market, right? Like you've been.
I was about ready to get into the workforce.
Right. So you've been through the recession in 2008. You were in talent, right? In 2008 during the recession.
Yep.
And what was that like? Let's take it back to that time, right? Like, there's a lot of similarities. There was a lot of uncertainties, right? We thought we were going to go back to the dark ages, but we came out of it. So looking back with that lens, because I was not in recruitment now, but what kind of lessons can you kind of drop on us? What kind of insights? I mean, what kind of optimism do you have? Or what kind of pessimism?
It goes right into your crops have just been crushed by a random hailstorm. Like there's this great story that I always refer to from my wife's business, Fin Social, which is this group that's basically in south of France that produces the best rosé, and they're all like a union crop, right? Well, one group, one actually venture, a random cloud of hail dumped on him like Charlie Brown, ruined his entire crop.
Oh no!
Right, and so
a literal shitstorm.
Yeah, and this is a great great example of what do you do, right? You should watch Psalm in the Bottle. They interviewed people that basically just went through the earthquake. So everything that they've been saving up for years of wine, right? So this is exactly it. Is when shit hits the fan, right? You basically have to go through the mourning phases, right? You have to mourn, you have to get perspective, and then you find resilience. But similar to the south of France, it was his network in terms of they saw how hard he was working to basically help them instead of helping himself, right? Because helping himself would be like, oh, well, woe is me. And same with anything else. It's like when you see this is the time to invest. And it's so hard because it's like, I already invested.
Like, how do you get your mind into that concept, the fact that like we're down and it's like almost like a double down?
Yeah. It pressure creates diamonds, right? That's what you have to remember. So it creates a lens to see the world in a different way. So the way in which you basically are going to not only survive, but thrive, because then you start really survive. And I've been through this before because even without the macro, storms that come in, my business, I've had businesses fail. You know about that, right? Mm-hmm. It's like poker. It's the bad beat that everyone eventually gets. Hopefully it's on a small play. Sometimes it's on a big one. And
you're going to take your hits.
I think right now everyone's sharing the same poker story, which is I bet big on first quarter because of the way that this machine was going. And then now I'm basically I'm cutting those losses and I have to reinvest with whatever I have, which is probably sweat equity.
Oh man, sweat equity. I mean, you and I were talking about that offline. I mean, now's an amazing opportunity, and we go back to it. Like, where could you add value? Where could you find those opportunities to be a partner and not a vendor? Yep. It's absolutely insane. So let's get a little personal here. How are you? Something that I always admire about you is your mental fortitude, right? And I think that's something that is. I think it's a mix of it's innate, and I also think it's learned. There's a combination there too. But what do you do to kind of stay strong and kind of block it out? How do you stay so positive?
I think it's, I appreciate that. Very kind of you. I just love the saying, you can't kill what won't die. I mean, it's amazing how action, right? The same thing that when we talk about Cuban, like what you do right now, if I can create energy, and I usually get dinged for having too much of it, right? And I jump around because, naturally when you're in recruiting as well as marketing, you're exposed to so much interesting information.
We're privy to, we're at that. No, people don't understand that recruiting is it politics, C-suite, hiring, talent, logistics, everything. We're the linchpin.
Yeah. When you get addicted to it, I love the saying that Google coined back in the day, like, don't be evil. Right. So everyone has a choice. The thing that I always choose is basically the thing that really empowers a lot of other people is, perspective and resilience. Might come from being an athlete, might come from being a challenged youth, all the different things that, by my outfit and my background here probably doesn't speak to that. But, I like The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, basically in terms of the $7 studio mentality. I watched something the other day that was just great because he's talking about he's secured a spot. And I think there's more men do this. They compartmentalize. Like he compartmentalized the feeling of his back against the wall with $7 in his pocket. And he taps into that every single day. He starts his day by opening that door and be like, we do not exist. And that goes to show kind of, obviously he's a success story, right? And you can't take that away from him. But I love going into that compartmentalize of like, it's almost the same dark space that comedians come up with their best stuff.
Right. Like in the dark spaces. And I completely agree with you. A lot of people are talking about like the COVID dreams. They're talking about like, because like for me, and I keep talking about this almost in every stream that I do. Dave Meltzer is somebody that I deeply respect. It's somebody that like, I consider kind of like a spirit animal in the world of like advisory energy and like we're a kindred spirit there. And there's an analogy he gave that like when you get on the airplane and the flight attendants going through their safety routine and they say, in case of a sudden loss of cabin pressure, the mask is going to fall. Put it on you first before the person next to you, your kid, whatever. And I get it now because you need to take care of yourself and be your best self first before you can take care of everybody else. Like if you and I weren't our best, if you and I weren't on our game right now, our families would fall apart. And I mean that, right? Like if I was a shit show right now, we would not be having this conversation.
Totally. And I'm getting pinged already by some awesome people that love the analogy of diamonds create.
Yes, Kate Tarana is
diamonds, right? So yeah,
Kate is saying hi to us. You hear that ding in the background there. Kate, what's up? Rhonda, what's up? Everybody watching, thank you for joining us on the podcast live. We'll do a little commercial call break. You're joining us live with Bryan Moll on the podcast live on whatever day this is in the month of April. We are all here together. We are doing this. So Bryan, I'm going to use this opportunity to ask some questions that I ask on my normal podcast now, right? Like silver linings. Silver linings is something that you and I talk about all the time. It's a byproduct of what we do, but talking about it now in this current time of COVID, what is a professional silver lining and what is a personal silver lining that you're experiencing right now?
Yeah, I think professionally, it's rewarding to see because it's very when you go through kind of the boom bust, right? I think if you're a recruiter or if you're in sales or if you're in marketing, you're a gambler. You're gambling on time, resources, optics. A lot of the people that I hire for projects, I like gamblers. I like ones that basically have lost a lot to them. I empathize with that. So like professionally, I'm really enjoying watching people's evolution because they've been hustlers in all these markets that we recruit in. It's just a mad respect for them because when you actually start seeing them go through their process of basically perspective and resilience and the fact that you have to buoy with others to basically not just survive but thrive, you start to basically understand exactly what your calling is professionally, which is to basically again simplify things, onboard people to the facts and the figures and the reality. There's no shortage of aspirational content that anyone could be putting out. That's why I love what you're doing, as well as a few other key people. The MRI network, right? I'm giving a shout out to them. Like they're hitting it solid to the people that matter most, which is these recruiters that have really invested in sustainable, business concepts in terms of being a resource for, so I think professionally, I'm enjoying seeing everyone, go through the Mike Tyson experience, which is everyone had a plan and then they got knocked out, right?
Yeah, so, Mike.
I'm not kidding you. Like, I absolutely love like the sniffing salts of like, hey, did you see that? Holy shit! Like now we have to. Hey, come on in, right? You just got knocked out. You're in the knockout club, right? That's probably there. That's probably
we've all been there. We've all been there, man.
We've all been there. So that's professionally, I'm enjoying that. Not to say like, oh, I love seeing people, but you know what? When you see someone take a shot and they recover from it, I'm investing in them. Like, hey, let's talk.
It's how it sounds so fucking cliche, but it's how you get back up, man. And that's what tells the story. Anybody can get knocked out. People get knocked out all the time.
Yeah, right. There's some cheap shots coming at me. I'm sure of it, no doubt. Because again, there's just this level. I mean, like when you do that, it's very similar to a diet. Like when you go on a diet, everyone else starts becoming your enemy. You're like, are you sure? Like, what do you have to do that?
Why are you trying to give me pizza and beer?
Yeah. So professionally, it's watching people really recover because that's the most important thing. They almost get a sense back to themselves, who they are, what matters, how good they have it compared to, right, perspective. And then resilience is basically being much more calculated in terms of what they do. Personally, God, I can tell you right now, spending more time with my 2-year-old daughter.
That's great.
It's phenomenal. You guys have no idea how many times, I have to basically find perspective and resilience to leave my wife and daughter to go and, to maintain a relationship and grow relationships with your work. Personally, historically, is all your energy, and I think personally, I'm better for it, and professionally, I'm going to basically thrive because I'm spending way more time with my daughter, which gives me a tremendous amount of like, let's get shit done and let's focus on investing, because now it's you look at her and she goes, Daddy, I love you. Go to work. She's like, go in your office. And it's like 2 years old telling you that. Whereas now my wife can't say anything because she's like, yep, go in your office, get to work.
I love it, man. And you're a road warrior, man. And I get it too, because you and I talk all the time personally, and I'm not going to divulge our conversations, but I get it. And I fully empathize with you because I've been there sitting with you in the city when your family's in Colorado. And I totally get it. And we'll throw a little curveball in here. There's a fun fact coming from our audience on Twitch. Someone is saying that Bryan is actually a retired UFC fighter. Which I don't think is true, but I don't know for sure. I mean, I have friends in recruiting who literally are former poker players, who are former, like, recruiting is one of those weird, it's almost like an ex-con industry where like you really don't need many qualifications and anybody could do it, and the barrier to entry is real fucking low. So like there's not a lot going on here. So that is the official part of the podcast live. Now we're gonna get into the funny games. You ready for some funny games?
Sweet.
I'm gonna do some magic. I'm gonna do some illusion. Right, we're gonna play. You like games?
I love games. Let's play.
We're gonna play a game. It's called Pod Decks, and everyone knows that I hate engagement pods, but we're gonna play this game called Pod Decks, which has nothing to do with engagement pods. So we have a standard 52 card deck of cards, whatever that official English language is. I'm gonna shuffle it up here, and basically it's an ice-breaking game that I have now adapted for my live show, where we take it, where after all the fun is done, now we bring in the game section of it. So I'm gonna pick like, I don't know, a few cards here in my hand. Don't worry, it's not sleight of hand. And I'm gonna hold these up to you. And this is my right, this is my left. Pick the first card by number. This is number 1 here.
Mm-hmm.
So go 1, 2, 3. Give me a number.
4.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. That's a 4th one here. Okay, here we go. Would you rather have unlimited sushi for life or unlimited tacos for life?
Ooh.
And I'm going to answer them too.
Okay.
Play along. Anyone watching us, the one person on LinkedIn Live who's left after our terribly boring conversation about politics of recruiting. Facebook is still booming. We're good.
Okay. Well, Twitch sounds good.
Yeah, we have one on Twitch because I'm still building that.
I would probably say sushi. The reason why is I'm at a stage where I can it's a psychological thing. Like when I eat sushi, I feel like I'm eating my vegetables. When I eat tacos, it's like I might be going to Golden Corral next because this is like in my mind, the upside is sushi means that I'm living a very healthy lifestyle, clean eating, and then with tacos, it's just a mess.
I love tacos.
I know fish tacos maybe, but like I'm just thinking Taco Town. Matter of fact, I'll look that up. That's one of the best skits ever because
Taco Town with Justin Timberlake. It's a great skit. I'm totally down with that. I'm with you on the sushi, man. I could eat a lot of sushi. Let's go to the next card here.
Okay.
Going number 1 on the right.
Yes.
Pick a number.
I will go with 5.
1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, here we go. Okay. Ooh, which celebrity chef would you most like to make you dinner?
Which celebrity chef
would you like for you to make you dinner?
Man,
you guys are in the know.
Yeah. I think probably with me it would be celebrity chef to cook me dinner personally, right? I think even though it's not politically correct, but Mario Batali.
Yeah.
I mean, have you been to Babo with that pork chop? I mean, It makes me emotional just thinking about it.
I miss restaurants. I miss dining out. I miss all that stuff too. I mean, but Batali's good. I'm a Marimoto fan. Like, if we're gonna go back to sushi, right? Like, I really like the omasaki, like, kind of experience there. So I think that would kind of go for me, which is very different because Jeffrey Zarkarian for me, I really love. I've been to Lamb's Club, like, if you want good meat like that, it's kind of under the radar. Like, there's some good stuff going on there too. I mean, New York City is definitely the place for that. We'll do one more and then we'll wrap this bad boy up. Is this fun, right? Like, these are icebreakers.
Yeah, let's do number 1.
All right, number 1 it is. Ooh. No.
Nope.
No.
Fun fact about Bryan, he's a retired UFC fighter. Hey, Bryan, give us the stock tip. I'm starving. Bill Gates or Joe Rogan? What is it? Is it L Jubs? I'm just trying to understand. It's all Twitch.
All right, so L Jubs is asking fun fact about Bryan's UFC fighter. Bryan, give me a stock tip. Give somebody a stock tip here.
Yeah.
I would. Netflix is good. If you're buying on Netflix, you're late to the game.
No, I would go oil right now.
I would go big on oil right now if I had a penny to my name. Absolutely. I don't know what this question is. Bill Gates or Joe Rogan? Like, in a fight? Like, I don't know what the question is. I think Joe Rogan could obviously kick the shit out of Bill Gates, but Bill Gates has a lot of money and he may know some like crazy underground skills that you don't know.
I hope that Joe Rogan gets Bill Gates on his show because when he had Elon Musk, I died. I got
him so high, man. Like, that was
yeah.
I think, and I don't want to get too political here, I think Bill Gates needs to go on Joe Rogan to just counter all the bullshit that's talking right now about the Bill Gates conspiracy, which is like, do you really think that this guy needs a penny more? Do you really think the second richest man in the world, first of all, he has no chance of catching Jeff? Fuck Jeff. He's being a dick right now. But like, you think about Bill Gates, this guy has already pledged like the majority of his wealth when he dies to philanthropy. You think you think this is all a scam? Shut the fuck up. Like, enough of that shit. Last question here. And I'm going to edit this. What is the funniest thing that you've seen your kid do?
Can I share a picture? I actually have a picture. It was just today. How do I do that? Let's see here.
Let's hold it up to the camera.
Okay.
We're low tech.
All right. Let's do that. There we go.
We're not doing no Zoom screen share bullshit here.
Yeah. So I have a 2-year-old daughter, and she stole a bra out of the drawer and put it on my French bulldog's head, and his face says it, perfectly, right? That's what you get to wake up to, whenever you aren't rushing out the door to catch your train or catch your plane. So it was so fun.
And I really think you hit, like, it's like this silver. Yeah, it's really silver linings here. It's all the funny shit that we're totally experiencing. Yeah. My son, who is he's a little bit older than your daughter by a month or two.
Yeah.
It's like he does this thing now. It's called No Daddy. No Daddy. Wherever I hold him, he's like, no daddy, no daddy, no daddy. Mm-hmm. And it's not just a pointing. He's now gotten to the point where he's smacking me as hard as he could in the face, and it makes him hysterical. Like really, it's the funniest thing like to him, and I just take it because he's
got some weight behind that punch.
Oh man, he's a big boy. So let's wrap this up here. It is Thirsty Thursday happy hour. Thanks for the few people that are joining us. I know everyone on the replay, you're going to catch us 10 times on the back end. Bryan, any closing thoughts? Anything you want to kind of leave us with today?
Support those that are focusing on their product. Adam is one that's focusing on his product. I am extremely excited about where this is going. And then naturally too, like, you know what? Let it rip. Freak flag flying differentiates you. You better just be able to defend it. That's all. So very excited, very humble, and motivated to have another cocktail. So thanks for the time.
That is right. We're going to wrap this up. It is Thirsty Thursday. It's also the end of the week for the podcast live. We are done. It's been a very long week. The YouTube channel is now live. The link is on my profile. All that kind of fun stuff. You could also find other shows on www.thepodcast.com. All that kind of cool stuff is there. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Thank you, Bryan Moll. And everybody have a great weekend. Take care. Wash your hands. Be good. And catch us next Monday. We'll be back. Fun stuff. Thank you, everybody.